In my last two videos in this series, we covered cut parts, and I showed you how to create a new cut part in an empty product. We walked through the interface of part properties and everything about the basics of how cut parts work. And then in the next video, in our last one, we discovered how products worked, and we built on the first video of cut parts and actually took that same product that we made and we made a cabinet box that had sides, bottom, nailers, stretchers, and a back. And we even did a little bonus of adding associative dados. And today, what we're going to do is we're actually going to continue to build on what we've done in the previous two videos. So I'll have a link here to where you can go watch those previous two videos and then come back and pick up here. And what we're going to do is take that same product. So we've got this box that we built from scratch, and we're going to insert some sub-assemblies, and we're going to talk about how sub-assemblies work. So I'm going to show you a couple ways to interact with them, how we can add adjustable shelf here on the inside, and then door sub-assembly here. And then I'll walk you through how you can get to the sub-assemblies. We'll talk about some different parameters and ways to work with them. So the first thing I'm going to do is, because I already have this product, I'm going to first show you through product prompts how you can go to the sub-assembly. So if you go to product prompts and you just right click here anywhere in the product prompts in space, you see this sub-assemblies option. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring up this sub-assemblies interface. And so over on the left, what you have is your sub-assembly library. And this is going to look different depending on your library and what library you're in. I'm in the foundation metric, but everybody will have whatever list of sub-assemblies you have over here. And then over in the right side, you've got your field for editing, and you'll see once you add sub-assemblies. And if you're in a product that already has them, you'll see the sub-assemblies here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to universal, I believe. And there's some things I want to point out, because what you will see, like if I go to cabinet library, you might see something called non-insert. And I think under universal, we also have universal non-insert. So when you see non-insert, regardless of what library you're in, what that refers to, and they've categorized them that way intentionally, because these are generally the sub-assemblies that are already used into your out-of-the-box library products. So if you go put in a product from your library, it already has sub-assemblies in it that are built to work for that product. Those are here. And so generally, these are not going to be ones that you're going to insert the way I'm showing you now on a case-by-case basis. What I'm actually going to do is, I think if I go to component inserts in the library I'm in, and yours might look different, what I'm going to first look for is door. And I'm just going to do a single component doors. And you might not have this exact one, but if you find something like component doors or door, you can try that. But the important part is, if you double click, it's going to add it here to your list of sub-assemblies. And you'll notice right now it's green. And if you look at this little legend down here, it tells you that green means project level. And by default, everything is project level in a project. So you've got library level, project level, and then we've got product level, and then row level. So by default, when you put something in, it's project level. And when you create a project in Microvellum, it's automatically creating a copy of your library level sub-assemblies and library spec groups and everything at that point. And then those are like a snapshot of that point. So by default, I'm project level, and that's allows me with sub-assemblies. For example, if I've updated that sub-assembly at the library level, it's not automatically updated in the project level. I have to go revert or rebuild that sub-assembly in the project from the library. So that's why in any project, the highest level is project level, which just means that definition of that sub-assembly is the same across the whole project. Then you have product level. So if I were to edit this sub-assembly within my product, I could first save it to product level, which means I may have made changes to the logic in that sub-assembly that now is defined differently in the product that I'm in. So I could have multiples of that same sub-assembly in my current product. And if it's product level, then I'm making that change to all of the sub-assemblies defined in that product. And then the lowest level is row level, which means I could have multiple sub-assemblies of the same sub-assembly in the same product. And if I've made changes and saved it to the row level, then it's unique even amongst the same sub-assembly in that product. So we'll come back to that and I'll show you how to see that in a couple other interfaces. But you'll see here my width, height, and depth say and pick corners or enter depth. And if I click on it, you'll see there's a formula here. So this one's built to look to my inside width, but because I'm in a product I built from scratch, I don't have that defined. So it's telling me to pick corners. So I can do that. And what Microvellum was built in is a way that I can right click and I can either pick a point or pick corners. So I'm going to first pick corners, which is going to allow me to define my width and my height at the same time. So I'm going to go and actually my origin. So I'm going to pick corners and I'm going to start with my bottom front left corner of my inside of my cabinet because I'm wanting to reference the inside of my cabinet in this case. I'm going to pick the top. So you'll see now it's populated my width and my height. And then it's actually giving me a base point of X, Y, and Z. I've got an origin, which is going to be the front bottom left of my cabinet. You'll see 16 millimeters, in this case metric. So I'm in by the width of my side and up by the thickness on my bottom. And then I'm negative Y by my depth. But I didn't give me my depth of my subassembly here. So I can do a couple things. I can put it in depth, or I think, let's see if it'll let me pick a point for this. Doesn't work, but what I can do here is I can just double click this and it's going to bring up my subassembly prompts is one way, which you'll see here. I guess in this subassembly, my depth is hidden, but I can start to see all my prompts here that are available to me, just like my product prompts. Your subassembly has subassembly prompts, which is an interface to access the prompts of the subassembly. And essentially what a sub is a product within a product. So you have all the same things. You have prompts, you have parts, you have hardware, you have all the same options in a product, now just nested within that product. But I want to change this depth. I'm going to go to, so what we just did, I can double click, which is going to be the same as show subassembly prompts. And if I right click, I can do show subassembly properties. So you can see here, my name, I can actually pick a different subassembly as well. I've got a quantity, width, height, depth. So I'm just going to put in here for depth equals depth. We'll check if it's right. So I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to click OK and see what it gives me. So you'll see now I have a door that appears to have come in exactly as I want. It's at the front. By default, though, it is a left swing one door. So now I've got a cabinet subassembly here that came in and it worked just as I would want. So if I was making a custom cabinet, and I needed to be able to add a door to it very easily, that's a quick and easy way to do it. So what if I wanted to change some things like left swing, right swing? Well, because this is a custom product, I don't have those prompts here defined at the local level. But what I can do is if I go to modify subassemblies, and I go to show subassembly prompts, even without being in the product prompts, I can access this. And I can, as long as I click on something in the subassembly, like this door, and it's going to give something here. It's going to say the selected part is within a nested subassembly. Select yes to view the nested subassembly prompts, finish faces. Select no to view the pair subassembly prompts, component doors. So we're getting into something here now. Remember how I said a subassembly is a product within a product? You can continue down and actually go another level to nested subassembly, which is a subassembly within a subassembly or within a product within a product. And in this case, I have found a subassembly that has a nested subassembly. So what they've done is they've put the finished faces subassembly within a parent subassembly called component doors. So I want to go to the top level of what I put in, and I'm going to select no to view the parent subassembly. And I have some options here. And the reason I want to start there is because I always want to go to the highest level I can and use what logic is built in if possible. So in this case, I have an option here for changing left swing to right swing, 2 doors, lift up door, drop down door. So let's change it to 2 doors, for example. And then you'll see also there's base door, tall door, upper door. And this could be a formula. I can't see it, but if I went into the spreadsheet, this could be some logic here. But I could also overwrite it here, which is just saying, hey, is this a base cabinet? If so, it's going to treat this like a base door. And you imagine if it's a tall door, it might put the pole in the middle. If it's an upper door, it might put the pole to the bottom and some other things that go with it. I can also change from overlay to inset. I could change my door type and a lot of things that are likely formulated here and are working just the way I want, but if I needed to, I could change them. You'll see another option here, save this subassembly only. So you'll remember that legend that had green for project level, yellow for product level, and red for row level. This is telling us, giving us the option to choose which way we want to save it. So by default, it's going to save to the lowest level, which is only going to affect this row, which means this exact subassembly definition. So if I had 2 or 3 of these same subassemblies in this product, selecting this would only affect the one I'm editing now. And if I wanted it to not change on other products in this project, but only change all of the definitions in this product, then I could select save subassembly to product. Or if I wanted to change the definition of this subassembly in the entire project, I could save to project. But to stay safe, if you're not sure and you don't want to mess anything up, just leave it as the default. And I'm going to click OK. And it's telling me, hey, it saved those changes I made. And you'll see now I've got a 2-door subassembly. So we also want to add a shelf. So I'm going to go back to the product prompts of this product. And I'm going to right click like I did before to go to Subassemblies. And I want to go and find a shelf. So I'm going to go to Internal Inserts, Standard Cabinets. And I want Shelf Adjustable. And so the same thing, I can pick corners. I'm going to right click and pick corners. I'm going to pick the front, bottom left inside of my cabinet. And I'm actually going to pick the top rear right. I think that that'll set my base point, and now I just need to pick my depth, which I'm just going to actually just input that here and copy what I have before, which is 560. So I'm going to click OK and see what this gives me. So now I have an adjustable shelf inside of my cabinet. And similarly, I can go back over here, modify subassemblies, and I can go to show subassembly prompts. I can click on that shelf and see what it gives me. So here I can actually edit the width, height, and depth. I could change some other things. Maybe I want 2 shelves. And I'm going to click OK. And now I've got 2 shelves. And again, the way this is working is looking to my global, so yours may be different with your spec groups. But let's look at another way to interact with these. So as we worked last time in part properties, I can go to the part properties of this product. And what you're going to see here, and you remember we saved both of those as save subassembly to row. So that's why they're red. And we'll see that's all we have over here. So I still have our cut parts from the last video. But now on the left side, I have these folders down here, which are the subassemblies. And so if you think all the references to row I said before, this is a row, this is a row, and they're only defined once, but they're saved those definitions to the row. And then you'll remember we had a nested subassembly, and you see within component doors, I have another level down. So now I have multiple rows of this finished faces subassembly saved within this parent subassembly, which is within the product. So I can right click and show properties, and you'll see up here it changed from the product name to component doors. So that tells me I'm active in my subassembly. And so now it changed my whole interface to be referencing what's in this subassembly. So remember how I said a subassembly is like a product within a product? This interface allows you to go back and forth. So just to show, if I went and right clicked the product, I'm going to go back to the product level. You see it shows my cut parts within the product. And now I can go back into the component doors and I'll see these parts that are in this. And if I go to the subassemblies tab, I have all of my subassemblies. So you see I have 5 finished faces, and over here I have 5 finished faces. These are these nested subassemblies. And if I go back here, so if I go to prompts, I have all my prompts that are defined within component doors, my width, height, depth, and then all the other stuff that's defined there that I could also edit here. I can go into shelf adjustable just the same. And it's going to tell me, hey, do you want to save component doors? It looks like you edited it. No, I didn't make any changes. So now shelf adjustable is active. And if I go back to parts, now I have my parts, and you'll see the light gray ones are things with a quantity of 0, so they're off. So I only have the 2 shelves turned on right now, but there's logic in here for all of this. Similarly, if there's any hardware, my shelf supports and shelf standards, which are off, but my shelf supports are on. There's no sub-assemblies in this sub-assembly, no nested sub-assemblies, and then my prompts again. So I can interact with the sub-assembly here through part properties just like I can the product. And the last way is in the edit design data, the spreadsheet, so to speak. If I open that up, you'll see, similarly, we've got our cut parts, just like we saw at the product level. And then if we go to the Subassemblies tab, you'll see we've got the 2 subassemblies here. You've got your quantity, width, height, depth, XYZ origin, just like we saw from the product prompts. And then if I right click show subassembly file, it's going to open what's inside here. And you'll see I've got those 2 parts. And if I change this to show all parts, you'll see all the parts that have a quantity of 0 that are turned off. And so this is exactly just like a product. I've got a cut parts tab, a cuts parts tab, a hardware parts tab, a hardware parts tab, and a subassembly, a subassemblies tab where I could have nested subassemblies, and then I've got a prompts tab in each. So in the workbooks, it is exactly the same anatomy as you have at the product level, just nested within. And that's really the beauty of subassemblies, is it allows you to build a whole lot of things into a single subassembly that can be treated or defined or formulated differently depending on the product they're in, the width, height, the depth, and you can even push prompt values and things down within it based on bay position or this prompt value tab. So that is a high-level overview of how subassemblies work. We have now learned how to create a cabinet from scratch and insert into it some internal subassemblies and doors, as well as learned how to interact with and edit subassemblies at a high level. Going forward in our future videos, we will still continue this series, Microvellum Made Easy, and we will start to dive into materials, edge banding, and hardware, and eventually get to machining tokens. So hit subscribe and stay tuned to continue to learn how Microvellum works and Microvellum Made Easy.